Hello and welcome to Videogame Book Club. This is the show where we pick, we play, we discuss,
Yes.
and we complete a game every single month.
Maybe not complete.
Maybe not complete.
Sometimes complete, varying
We
degrees of
tried to.
completion.
We
We
tried
try. We
to.
try.
I'm your host, JP Juan Solodolo, and with me I got the bad Benny Benjamin Tizzle Toops
Let's go.
in the house.
Let's go.
How you doing, man?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, dude.
Yeah.
It's been a long time since we last saw each other.
A
Not
month? A
really.
month to be
A
exact.
month,
Yeah,
yeah.
no.
We don't speak unless we speak on the pod, I think.
Right.
Right? Is
This
that
is
the
a
rules?
business
Yeah, yeah.
business relationship.
We
We
record,
hmm
we shake hands, and
Yes.
then we just kind of,
We leave.
yeah,
Yeah.
we leave. I'll
hmm
see you in 30 days.
Yeah. That's just how we do. It's how we do. Yeah.
Since we last spoke, there was a lot of video games that were announced.
hmm
They had the Summer Game Fest. Microsoft did its own thing. Nintendo Direct did like a thing. Everyone was hoping for the Nintendo Switch 2. It didn't
Yeah.
happen. I know. I think everyone knew it wasn't going to happen. Not yet, at least. Maybe December. But I was going to ask you today to break the ice a little bit.
Yeah.
What game were you most excited about that you saw in any of those shows?
Yeah, so I didn't watch a ton of them. I saw clips and stuff after they were posted. I feel like the one major thing that caught my eye was the new Legend of Zelda game, or maybe
Oh,
maybe Legend of Link in
Legend,
this new one. But
Legend of Link. We're swapping it
the
around.
yeah, so playing as Zelda, I think will be really interesting.
It took them
And
40 years. No,
yeah,
I don't know how much, maybe 35.
yeah, yeah. But so I mean, it looks cool. It looks more like Link to the Past, like kind of top down,
Yeah.
like old school style. But it should be cool. Yeah.
I'm excited for a game that you're going to make fun of me for, but do you know the Shin Megami Tensei series?
No.
So Shin Megami Tensei is like a JRPG series where it's like dark fantasy, kind of
hmm
it's all about like demons and choosing like your own path in the world. You can choose to be like good, you can choose to be bad, you can choose to be
Yeah.
neutral, lawful, or whatever. And the mechanics of it is like you kind of almost hire these demons.
hmm
You have your own demon, or sometimes you're a demon, depending on what game you're playing. And you can fuse them, you can like kill them, do different things with them. It's a
Okay.
turn-based game. Usually, the games are really difficult, so that's kind of like the grind. It's
Oh,
that
interesting.
the actual mechanics of the turn-based combat is like difficult.
Right.
They actually just released Shin Megami Tensei 5 V, which is like the definitive edition of Shin Megami Tensei 5.
Yeah. This
Mouthful.
is a very JRPG thing.
JRPG,
It's
super
like
JRPG.
five
It's like
different.
I'm not super into a lot of JRPGs except Final Fantasy and Shin Megami
Yeah,
Tensei.
yeah. It's
And
like five different editions of the
uh,
same game.
they love to take our money for sure. But
Yeah, yeah.
so they have a spin-off series. They have like dozens of spin-off series, but the
hmm
most famous spin-off series is called the Persona games.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
so you know Persona. So
yeah. Of
Persona is
course.
becoming like more famous than
Yeah,
Shin Megami Tensei. Shin
yeah.
Megami Tensei is like the like kind of dark, rough, just like
Okay. I didn't.
turn-based.
Yeah, I didn't realize it was a spinoff. But yeah, I'm
Yeah,
super
they used
familiar
to
with
be called like
Persona.
Shin Megami Tensei Persona, whatever, Persona
Got
2,
you.
Persona 3. Now
Got
they
you.
took the SMT out, just Persona.
Yeah.
But the developers of the Persona team, basically of Atlas,
hmm
are making a game called, oh my god, it's called Refantasio something
Okay.
with an M, and now everyone's making fun of me. Metaphora Refantasio, something like that.
Something like
It's a
that.
terrible name, but it's basically another Persona game. Instead
Cool.
of being set in like an urban Japanese city,
hmm
it's set in like a medieval world. But
Oh,
so that's gonna be fun.
interesting.
And just quickly, Metroid Prime, it's
hmm
gonna be great fun.
Yeah.
Mario and Luigi, that RPG series
Yeah,
is
I saw
back,
that. I
so
saw
that's gonna
that
be
briefly.
fun.
Yeah.
There's gonna be 10 Sekiro likes coming out, so
Let's
that's gonna be
go.
fun.
Let's go, dude.
But we're not here to talk about those games. We're here
No.
to talk about your game of the month,
Yes,
Animal
dude.
Well.
Talking about Animal Well. So, yeah, I chose Animal Well last month mainly because, I had a big trip coming up.
Yeah,
I knew I was going to have some long plane rides and I needed something in order to, be able to record the episode when we're doing it.
yeah,
I needed something I could play on the planes pretty much and like on my travels. So I picked Animal Well. Obviously, because it's on the Switch, it's on the Steam Deck, PC, everything, PS5, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But I picked it for that reason, and because there was a lot of, I feel like, hype around it
Mm-hmm.
with the publishing studio, which we'll talk about later, I'm sure. Um, but yeah, I picked it. I'm glad I picked it, and
Me too.
yeah, you want to get into kind of talking about it a little bit?
Yeah, so I have. Let me paint a picture for you
Yeah.
of the first 20 minutes of my life with the game.
Oh my god.
Uh, and I have never felt like such a dummy, but I didn't feel like such a dummy until maybe 5 hours into the game. So you start off and you're this little guy, you're this
Yeah.
little blob,
Yes.
and you don't have a name, you don't have nothing, you
Mm-hmm.
don't talk, you just wake up from a flower and you
Yep.
start exploring. Well, the first kind of check of the game to tell you, hey, this is a puzzle game, figure out how to get through, is that ghost that is in like the second room.
Yep.
Well, I obviously figured out, okay, I can't get past him, so I need to go up and discover to the left hand side, there's some firecrackers. I didn't know that firecrackers were there.
Right.
So I got there and I saw 3 buttons and I was like, I need to press these buttons. But I could only press two, the one at the top and then the one next to the gate. And then
Mm-hmm.
for the life of me, I couldn't see. I was playing on the Steam Deck. I
Yeah.
couldn't see the hole next to the other button where you're supposed to go down and press the third.
Okay.
So I spent 20 minutes
Oh my
trying to figure out
god.
where to go, how to get past the ghost, and I couldn't. So when I would jump, I couldn't jump back because you have to go around. And so I had to quit the game and restart and keep figuring it out. I juked the ghost. That's how I ended up getting past them.
Shifty dude.
So
Yes.
every time you walk into a room, whatever you do, it'll be there when you come back.
Mm-hmm.
So if you start cranking crank or whatever,
Yep.
it'll be in the exact same position. So I figured that out then,
Mm-hmm.
and I would run, crank the thing, run back because the ghost was gonna get me. Then run back in, crank it a little more, run back, then run back in, crank it a little more, and I did that. You have to do it like 15 times for it to finally get to
Oh
the
my
top.
god.
Then I jumped over him, got on the platform, went up, and then kept playing the game. Obviously, I found the firecrackers 10
That's
seconds
incredible.
later. I destroyed him, and I was like, wow, that's a really hard first puzzle. That was terrible.
That's a good, but that's a good kind of introduction to the game, because it's
Yeah,
like for everything there can be like now 12 different ways to like solve the same puzzle, right?
100%.
But okay, so let's kind of talk about the game kind of as it's presented, right?
Yes.
Because if you've listened to like um, the developer interviews or stuff, they talk about it in layers, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's not just now one different layer.
Yeah.
There's the way they talk about it. There's 4 different layers to the game,
I
right?
didn't get to the
So
last layers, I think.
no, I definitely didn't. I definitely didn't. But so layer one, I think, is kind of to start there. Layer one is like the base game, pretty
Yeah.
much. You get into the game, you solve the first puzzles, and through exploration, trying to figure it out, you realize there's these 4 flames on the map, and there's
Yeah.
very little exposition, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, you're just this little guy
Yeah.
in this big map,
Yeah.
and there's zero exposition. You have no idea what to do.
Nothing.
But the one thing you see is these flames on the map,
Yeah.
right? And so it kind of draws you to go there, I guess.
Yeah.
Um, but that's like the first layer of the game,
Yeah.
right? And so in that layer, you're supposed to get these 4 flames, right? Obviously, kind of 1 flame per quadrant of the
Mm-hmm.
map. With the first, so I'm kind of curious to hear what order of the flames you went in.
Yeah, and I'm curious to see if we have the same one because
Yeah.
I felt that all the quadrants had a different. Obviously, they have a different vibe,
Mm-hmm.
and only one of them to me felt the most inviting, which is the top right one because it's green. There's
Right.
those little hedgehogs that that's the first thing that you do with them. You can kind of like jump around them and not get hit.
Yeah.
So that's where I went first, and I found the slink, and I
Mm-hmm.
thought the slink was the first item that anyone would get. I loved it. I thought, I don't know, when you play these games. I mean, we both went on to this game blind. I didn't look
Yeah.
one thing up, not until ever. I played until I couldn't anymore,
Mm-hmm.
basically, and I didn't know what I was gonna find, and the fact that I found a slink, it's just so funny. I didn't find like a shield, no sword, no nothing. It's just the toys that you get
Yeah,
are so
yeah,
creative. Um, but I didn't actually complete that top right quadrant. I think that's the chameleon one
yes,
because I couldn't. So I
yeah,
went all the way and I couldn't do it. So I went to the bottom left
hmm,
and I found the bubble. Then I had to slink the bubble and I probably found the frisbee. So I did the seahorse first, which I think
right,
is the bottom left. Then I did the cat,
hmm,
top left, which was so scary. I've
yeah,
never fought for my life so hard
I
than
know.
whenever I was carrying that frisbee, the mock disc back
Yep,
to the other
yep,
statuette. Then I did bottom right, which is where you have who's bottom right? The ostrich.
yeah,
Yeah, and
ostrich.
like the mice are doing that platform moving left and
Hmm,
right, up and down. And
hmm.
then I finally went all the way back up. I
Okay.
kind of redid the top
Yeah,
right quadrant.
I feel like the game kind of encourages the exploration in that way because in each of the four areas, like you said, with the chameleon, it requires an item from another
Yeah.
area to complete. So you can't just go straight to the chameleon and do the whole area. You can't
Hmm.
just do like now 21 of these like puzzle rooms in a row or something like
Yeah.
that and go straight through to that flame. You have to kind of backtrack a little bit
Yeah.
and get the relevant item, like you said, the yo-yo in that case.
Oh yeah.
And I had the total same experience with the chameleon. Like I feel like that happened to me. I it took me longer than I guess it should have, maybe because I was playing it on like international flights at like 3 in the morning, probably.
Yeah.
Um,
Sleep
but it
deprived,
took me
just
longer than it
trying.
should have to kind of realize what the game was trying to get me to do.
Hmm.
So I would like go to the dog area and get, the frisbee and then go through it and I'd hit a wall and be like,
Yeah.
okay, I guess I can't progress here yet. Then I'd go to the chameleon area and I'd progress through to the very end and then I'd hit the wall where you need the yo-yo
Yeah.
and I'd be like, okay, I guess I can't do this either.
Hmm.
So it took me, I guess, a little bit to realize kind of what the gameplay loop of the kind of sectional exploration, I guess. Um, but once I did, I felt like it really it hit its stride and it got going a
Yeah.
lot faster.
And it didn't feel to me. I really enjoyed doing that because the game presents every room as its own little puzzle. Like
Totally.
I can obviously pick and choose like, oh, this puzzle gave me like an aha moment or
Hmm.
something, but the whole game, every single room, there's something to find
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
it was a
That's
delight. Like it was either super scary because the game is very scary, and
mhm,
it's obviously it's not like a horror game or anything, but the developer Billy Basso was so smart in the use of sound because when you're
totally.
playing the game, you don't hear anything. You're an
Hmm.
animal, seemingly, and you're in like a jungle basically.
Hmm.
You're in a well, I know, but you're like in this ecosystem, and you just hear noises. You hear like birds, or you hear different animals, and there's nothing there
Hmm.
until there's
Something.
something.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that can be other animals that look weird. It
Hmm.
can be the ghost of a cat that we just mentioned,
Hmm.
or of course later there's ghosts,
Hmm.
or kind of crazy figures that show up.
Yeah.
And the way that my headphones would like crank up the volume when those figures would appear
Hmm.
made it so scary but so
Yes.
thrilling at the same time. Like I
Yeah.
knew that I was doing something right, or I was going the right way. Um, but in those type of ways, like every room just felt like such a treat. I just
Yeah.
got something different every
Yeah.
time,
I
and so I
mean,
didn't feel like I was leaving things behind when I couldn't progress any longer in the quadrant. I was like, well, I'll come back. Like I know I'm gonna find a
totally.
different item to do this.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, it just speaks to how dense of an
Oh
experience
my
it
god,
is. Like it's just so much going on all at the same time.
every pixel is
But
planned.
you talked about getting scared. Maybe there
Yeah.
needs to be like a now 18 plus like rating on the game or something. But like so for me, the scariest moment by far was, and it's silly, but it was the wiener dog.
Oh
Like, do you
god,
remember this moment?
yes. I I am traumatized
I am
by
traumatized by the
the
wiener
wiener
dog.
dogs.
Truly, again. So again, I encountered this when I was on. It was like three in the morning on an international flight. I'm like delirious with no sleep, and the game sets you up so
Oh
hard, right?
yeah,
It sets you up for that moment
yeah,
in such a smart way, so hard. But because you get the disc, you're going through the different areas and you learn like, okay, there's a dog. If I mess up, he's gonna rip me apart into like now 9 different pieces or whatever.
yeah.
But you realize, okay, I just need to throw the disc. They'll be distracted. I get by totally fine. Um, but so you go in the room and you see the little dog. You're like, oh, perfect, fine. I throw the frisbee, and then there's like a little tunnel for me to go in. You throw the frisbee and go down. And the sound design of this too. When the little wiener dog, the rat dog, started chasing me through the tunnel, like I jumped in
Yeah,
my seat. The people around me on the plane probably thought I was crazy. I like jumped in my seat. It was such like a heart pounding moment, and just like then I'm like running around like twisting and turning and like doing all these different things, but like I don't know, it was crazy.
it
That was
was
such an
crazy.
insane moment.
So exhilarating and so scary. And
Yeah.
again, the barking. I mean, barking isn't inherently scary,
Yeah.
but the way that he made the game
Mhm.
just makes it scary. It makes all
Because
these
it's such a
sounds.
chill, it's otherwise such a chill atmosphere.
Yeah.
But then when it wants to put it on, it puts it on
Immediately,
fast. Yeah.
immediately. I mean, and like I said, every pixel is planned, every sound is planned,
Yeah.
and there's so many sounds that probably mean something in the game that I didn't
Oh
figure it
yeah.
out. You know,
Oh yeah.
like I know that there was like every 5 minutes, I feel like I would hear like a some sort of bird or something, bang, bang, or something like
Mhm.
that. I still don't know what that is. You know, and
Yeah.
and I don't know. When you play the game, and we're talking about layer one still,
Mhm.
layer one is just so lovely, and it gives you such a full experience. Like
Mhm.
you obviously there's so much more to explore and experience after, but if
Yeah.
you are just a gamer that wants to just get it done, get the eggs, if you even want to do the eggs, you don't even have to. You can do half the eggs if you want.
Yeah.
Get the four flames and see the
Mhm.
credit screen. It's still such a good experience
Yeah.
because of the wiener dog or the ostrich. The ostrich scared me so much. You know,
Yeah,
you go under, the
definitely.
ostrich is there to
And
get you too,
the
and
noise
the
of the
noises.
ostrich, yeah,
Yeah,
is terrifying. Yeah,
no,
that
it's so good. I really, honestly, credit to Billy Basso because and Donkey and Big
mhm.
Mode for noticing that this game was so good and
Yeah,
grabbing it
special.
as quickly as they could.
Definitely. Yeah, so I'm interested to get your opinion on like how did you feel about the difficulty of of the puzzles in like layer 1?
I didn't find them difficult
Yeah.
at all. I
Mhm.
mean, at all is maybe too strong of a
Yeah.
statement. I think they were. It's puzzles that are simple
Mhm.
because inherently they are. Press a button, it'll open something.
Mhm.
But it gives you the creativity to do it however you want. Like so many
Yes.
ways. Some of them, my most favorite puzzles, they're not even special. It
Mhm.
was just there's two buttons that I need to press, and I don't know how to do it, and I've done it for 4 minutes. I've been hanging around here doing the slinky, no, doing the yo-yo,
Yeah.
no, doing the trompo. How do you say trompo? The spinny.
Top?
Yeah, the top, doing
Yeah,
the
right, right.
top. And I didn't know how to get through it,
Mhm.
and then I would just look back, and all I needed was the slinky.
Yeah.
Slinky on one side, run.
Let's
Slinky
go.
on the other side, run. And I don't know. I didn't feel like they're challenging,
Mhm.
but they're doable in
Yeah.
like 5 minutes, maybe
Yeah.
less.
Yeah, maybe
And
less.
that makes you feel so good. Like you don't
Mhm.
want a puzzle to be so easy that you complete it first try.
Yeah.
Because there's other games, other Metroidvanias that they propose that, right? They propose, hey, you're gonna need an item, you're gonna need something, come back here, you're gonna find something fun. And then you
Mhm.
find and you go back and all you needed was a double jump. And now you have the double jump and then you reach it. And it's not super
Not super
rewarding.
satisfying, yeah.
With this, like you mentioned, there's so many ways to solve every single puzzle
Mhm.
that, yeah, you can have all the items and then do it, and that will make you feel good. Or you can have just two or three, try it out,
Mhm.
and then you get it, and it's even better.
And there's so many, I feel like the game gives a lot of flexibility in that way where puzzles can be solved in like legitimately, not through like cheating or hacking or anything, in like a lot of different ways. Like you can
Yeah.
use, maybe there's a platform, above your head you need to get to. You can use the bubble wand, like probably the intended solution is,
Hmm.
or you can like do this crazy series of like frisbee jumps
I
where you're
love
just
the
like
frisbee
bouncing back
jumps.
and forth and you get up there the same way. And it like it just encourages you and gives you the tools to kind of address the problems like how you want to address them
Yeah.
basically. And I think that's really cool. um, what did you think about the boss designs? I'm curious to know. I feel
I
like the bosses, I feel like, there's like now like 14 different kind of parts of this game and like so many different things to address. But I feel like for me, the bosses felt like a little bit of an afterthought in a way.
I was gonna say the same thing.
Yeah.
I thought, I mean, the vibe again. This game has the best vibe. So
Hmm.
every boss room felt like a boss room, and
Yeah.
that was exciting. But I thought they were okay. I mean, the only boss that I really enjoyed was the cat. It was
Hmm.
probably the hardest thing that you have to do in layer one,
Mm.
to try to get all the way up with the disc.
Right.
I think the chameleon maybe was a little bit challenging just to time
Yeah,
that a
I
little
feel
bit.
like that was probably like mechanically the hardest one,
Mechanically,
probably.
exactly, yeah. And
I
the
mean,
game
the
isn't.
cat, like the cat one, it's hard because like you have to do all this navigation
You need to
with
like
your heart
learn.
pounding and
Yeah.
like getting chased by this giant ghost cat or wolf or like whatever it is.
Oh, is it not a cat?
I don't know. I like the whole area is dog themed, so I
Oh,
thought
that
it
makes
might be a wolf,
sense. It
but
probably
it
is
it
a
looks
wolf
like a
or dog.
cat sort of.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
For
But
example, the seahorse I thought was fine.
yeah, that I felt like that was the easiest one
It
probably.
was
Or maybe, I mean, probably the ostrich actually, if I think about it,
yeah.
because I you had to, for the ostrich one, you had to kind of figure it out on the fly a little bit.
Hmm.
Like you had to remember back to the button you can press to
So
like
that it
open the
falls. Yeah.
platform. But I feel like once I was like, oh well, that's it. Like that's all I have to
I
do.
almost enjoyed getting to the boss more than the
Yeah,
boss. And
yeah.
and obviously, there's so much to explore between getting to a boss and not.
Hmm.
But I mean, like, there's clearly a one puzzle that is left, maybe one or two, to
Hmm.
reach the boss, and
Yep.
those were the most fun. Like, oh, I really need to think, especially the ostrich one. Getting
Hmm.
to that last area
Yeah.
was very difficult. I had to, like, I was gonna do that second, and I was like, no, I can't, because I couldn't figure out. I needed to step away and like stop
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
putting my head on the wall. And
I feel like of the four kind of quadrants, the ostrich quadrant to me was like the one that had the most, not necessarily difficult puzzles, but
mhm,
had like, I don't know, the most challenging, I guess, because like you had to think in a larger context with like the different directions of the platforms and moving in different directions. Um, so I felt like the of like the four, it felt to me at least like that was kind of the most challenging bit of puzzles
yeah,
in that first layer, I guess.
agreed. I think the maybe the dogs were a little more mechanical.
Hmm.
Timing the frisbee jump
Yeah.
is, a little bit more difficult than maybe the top right was like yo-yo slinky. That's
Hmm.
more just, you just kind of throw them and something happens.
Yeah.
uh Bottom left was more bubble.
Hmm.
Maybe is it just mostly bubble?
Yeah, pretty much. I think there was the like penguin puzzles and stuff down there, and
Yeah,
and I
yeah, yeah,
think
yeah.
I forget which other item that relied on, but for the most part, it was just kind of bubble jumping around.
And then the bottom right, like you said, is just, it just, I think everything was interconnected a little bit
Yeah,
more,
yeah,
and that made it slightly more difficult.
yeah. I think so
um,
too.
but then you, to finish off layer one, you get all four flames, and you open a new room that
Yes.
is right by there.
Yeah.
It kind of opens like the well, maybe even, and then you go down, and then the tone shifts a lot, because as
A
soon
lot.
as you go down, there's no more fun jungle noises. It's
Hmm.
all scary noises
Yeah.
immediately. And there's these
Immediately.
figures that kind of look like monkeys or
Hmm.
humanoid figures that are kind of walking and
Yeah.
follow you,
Hmm.
grab you, and damage you. And that was scary because that wasn't happening at all.
Right. Yeah. Totally. I think the vibe of that last area was like so different from the rest of the game. It was like almost jarring
Hmm.
in a way, and I think it was so effective in doing that. But I have to say, the puzzles in that area were super cool, and I really enjoyed, just doing all of them. I think they were really smart in a lot of ways. Um, but the final encounter with the Manticore like felt kind of it felt a little too easy for me because
Yeah,
when you get the lantern, it just nullifies it
yeah.
entirely.
Hmm.
Did you use the lantern
Yeah,
in
I
that
did. I
final
did.
engagement?
And it was like you said. I mean, getting to it
Yeah.
was the most fun, and honestly, some of that was pretty hard. Like
Mm-hmm.
the first time you meet him, where there's maybe four rooms in a row where you
Mm-hmm.
have to navigate, get the lantern,
Yeah.
and then you go down and you finish
Yes.
the game
Yes.
essentially. Yeah, I mean, for me that was almost like final boss and
Mm-hmm.
not like the last little room,
Yeah.
you know.
And there's still like puzzles to complete and stuff like that. And I think, like I said, the puzzles were good, but like, and the Manticore was such like when it first appears on screen
Hmm.
in those first like now 2 seconds, like I felt the design of it was so terrifying.
Yeah,
I
it
was like,
really
this. I was
was.
like,
It
and the
was.
music kicks in,
Oh my god.
that thumping, like,
Yeah.
like it was
Yeah.
so. It was such like a scary vibe, and then you turn the lantern on, and it's just like, okay, I'm gonna go chill over here,
Yeah.
and you do the puzzles like at your own rate,
Exactly.
and like you turn the lantern off, and it
And it
rushes
just
back in, and the
yeah.
laser eyes are going everywhere,
Yeah,
and it's
yeah.
like terrifying. And then you turn it on, and it's like, okay, well, I can just,
Yeah.
I don't know,
You
go at
know,
my own rate here.
it definitely like, you know, creates the vibe, right? Because you have
Yeah,
to turn it off to complete the puzzles anyways.
yeah.
But yeah, no, it was so good. I
Hmm.
really enjoyed finishing the game, getting to the credits, and then figuring out that that was not the game at all. You know,
No, so
I
I
thought,
think I thought it was so, like you said, you get that first credit roll, and then you're introduced to the house. You get the
yeah,
little house with your little blob guy. You
yeah,
got the portrait on the wall and stuff like that. Um, but I thought it was like in that moment where you leave the house and go like to the next screen, and all of a sudden there's like a 3D rotating donut on the screen, like rotating around. Did you see this?
uh, did I?
You have to have. It was
I'm
like
sure. I'm
you go
like
out the back of the
blanking
house and
out.
it's right there. But it's like, the game is very 2D, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
But you go to this room and there's a 3D like projected donut, and it looks so out of place with everything.
yeah.
And I feel like in that moment the director Billy Basso is just looking at me and being like, "You thought this was done?
Yeah.
This ain't done." Like it reinforced so hard to like there's like now like 9 different things you need to like think about now,
Yeah.
and like just I realized in that moment like the game just started. Like the
Yeah.
game is
Yeah.
not over. The game just started
Yeah.
because like it was so out of place and just so jarring, I guess. But so yeah, so that's a good that was kind of layer one, that first
Yeah.
first credit roll, right? And so now going into layer two. So layer two, I think, is more of like the completionist angle
Hmm.
to me. Like this is getting all the eggs, getting all 64 eggs or
Yeah.
65.
Oh.
Yeah, getting all 64 eggs, lighting all the
Yeah.
candles, getting all the tools,
Yes.
and stuff like that. So to me, layer two is that kind of completionist side.
Hmm.
So how did you go about, or like how many eggs did you find on your own? Were there any ones that kind of stood out to you in
Yeah.
ways or not? But I'm interested to hear about kind of your experience and how far you got with
Yeah.
that.
So for me, layer two really kicked in. The donut. I swear I'm
You
blanking.
got to
I'm
go
like,
back and look. Like
I
I
I had I
promise
recorded
you.
everything, so
Yeah,
I'll go
yeah,
back. I'm sure I saw it, but in the moment I was like,
yeah,
what?
yeah,
The layer two really kicked in whenever I started finding all these items. And
hmm,
at the beginning, you would open your inventory menu and you would have 2 rows of
yep,
things. And even at the beginning, even when you only had like one item, it was still
yeah,
2 rows. And I was like, okay,
yep,
that's it. 8 items and we're good.
hmm,
Well, then you keep finding stuff and
yep,
then it boop,
uh
expands
huh,
one
yep,
more
yep.
row. And
It's like
then, oh my God, I have so much more to find. And I thought that was so good,
yeah,
for a
totally.
menu that isn't a scrolling menu, that it's just on the screen. That design was so smart to tell you
Hmm.
another way of Billy Basso in your face saying,
Yeah,
dude, you got so much more to find,
so much more. Like the first layer of the game I feel like really only serves because you can complete that
Yeah,
in like 5
five,
hours
6 hours.
probably,
Yeah,
like not that long. um
I've
but
spent
I
more time like out of those 6 hours playing the game than
definitely,
in those 6 hours.
definitely, and I feel like it's there just to introduce you to all the mechanics so
Yeah,
that you can like then go back with all the new tools
yeah.
and figure out more stuff. But yeah, it was so.
My favorite moment of layer two. So what I did was basically you find the flute, right?
Mhm.
And I actually didn't realize that you can teleport with the flute until I talked with you about it.
Yeah.
So I was just like, oh, the flute, that's cool. And I retraced the whole map. I went
Dang.
quadrant by quadrant without, again, I didn't look anything up and just tried to find all the eggs
Yeah.
basically on my own. So that was my point was I know that you were gonna look stuff up and get into the layers as deep as you could.
Mhm.
And for me, in my head, I was like, I'm gonna play as if I'm just stranded in an island and I can't look anything up. I'm just gonna
Okay.
play for myself,
Yeah,
by
that's cool.
myself, basically.
Yeah.
So I found, I think at the moment that when I finished the game, I probably had like 20 something eggs,
Mhm.
but then I found like 27 more. I'm almost at 50. So
Okay.
uh, I didn't find all the 64
Yeah.
or 65, I guess.
Yeah.
So I didn't. I didn't.
Yeah.
I found like 50 something, and yeah, I just went through the whole every single room. I was like, did I miss something? And I would scan it and
Mhm.
do everything. And obviously, what helped was that pretty quickly, maybe like a couple hours into post game, I found the remote,
Mhm.
and that egg was what really opened my eyes. So you find the remote, you go down this like I don't know, it's like down left on the quadrant,
Mhm.
bottom left, and you go through this like little puzzle, and you find a snake, and the snake is navigating you, and I,
So yeah, such a cool puzzle.
it's
But
such a cool.
yeah,
I
go
think
ahead.
that's my favorite puzzle.
Yeah.
And you find the snake, and then right next to the snake is the remote.
Mhm.
So you find the remote, and then when I went back, I was like, "Well, I'm gonna leave now."
Yeah.
And then I pressed the remote, and then it lit up
Mhm.
a chest that was right there that I
Mhm.
didn't see, and
Yeah.
yeah, that's what sent me to find everything.
Yeah,
I
totally.
found I was missing one candle, so I didn't find
Okay.
one candle. I knew where the candle was supposed to be lit because I marked it on the map, which is a little funny story. When I started the game, like I told you, I went right immediately. So I
Mhm.
found the four flame, and I went not the four flames, but the four flame sections, and I went
Yeah.
right. I found the slinky. I did like almost the top right quadrant, and then I went left for the first time,
Gotcha.
maybe like an hour and a half into the game, 2 hours maybe. And then I found the stamp in the egg room. And I was so annoyed because I was like, I could have been stamping things in the
Oh, that's
map
so funny.
for 2.5 hours. And now the whole right quadrant was not stamped at all. I couldn't remember anything. I had to redo every single room to try to find stuff.
So what kind of stuff were you stamping?
I was stamping if I found because you can tell when there's like a hole or something on
Yeah.
the walls. I
Yeah.
was stamping a question mark when I knew that there was like something there that I need to get to.
Mhm.
I was stamping fire when I knew that there was a flame there, that a candle that I needed to light. And I was stamping every crow room because I knew that they like kill you if you do something. So I
Mhm.
put a little skull on every crow room.
Gotcha.
I stamped the two rooms where there's chameleons because I was
Mhm.
like, they're huge. I know I'm gonna have to like walk through there at some point. And yeah, I just had a little, again, like everything to me, I didn't figure out Animal Well, right? I'm coming to you to ask you, what is Animal Well? Because I just
Yeah.
played it again, like I just played it for fun. And um I knew that there's things going on, but
Mhm.
that was kind of it for me. The completionist,
Yeah,
I
it
was almost like I would say 85% completionist layer two for me, and that's when I
right.
when I stopped.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think like you said, the game kind of teases you in so many different ways. Like it makes it known that there's so much happening behind the scenes and kind of I don't know, like you said, you can be in a room and catch like a vibe, like something
Yeah.
something's going on in this room, but like I'm not smart enough to know what it is right now.
Yeah.
And that so that's kind of one thing is like the game makes you feel smart in a way, like solving the puzzles,
Yeah.
but then you get past like the first layer or two and you feel so dumb.
Oh
Like
no.
so dumb
Yeah,
because
yeah.
it's like there's so much happening and like you can go into now like 11 different rooms and recognize there's a larger puzzle here, but it's like so hard to kind of put together. So
Hmm.
like yeah, so in that second layer, I forget the exact number of eggs I found. I think it was probably like 50 by myself.
Hmm.
Um
So kind of about the same.
about
That's
the
kind of like
same. Yeah,
the
about the
regular
same.
person kind of. Well,
Yeah.
we're amazing actually.
Hmm.
So amazing person playthrough without looking
Yeah.
stuff up.
Yeah, but so did you that you haven't seen like the second ending?
No, 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 no. So
Okay, so
I
there's
was waiting to talk to you. I want to go back. Animal Well is not done for me.
okay.
It was done in terms of this conversation
Hmm.
because I did as much as I could by myself, and then I
Right.
wanted Bad Benny to enlighten me about the game. And I spoil it all for me. I mean, obviously this is Video Game Book Club, so spoil
Yeah,
it.
heavy
But oh
spoilers.
yeah,
Yeah,
I mean
heavy
all of the
spoilers.
spoilers. But no, I mean this game is not done for me. I wanna keep playing. I just love it so much. And
Yeah.
I wanna play on my Steam Deck every night and try to finish it.
Yeah, so it's really interesting. So so the end of layer 2 pretty much is finding all 64 eggs.
Okay. So the
Um
top
yeah,
room
top
would
yeah,
open,
the
right?
top left
The
room.
top left room.
Yeah, so of the now like four different kind of things that open as you go, you open all of them.
Yeah.
Um and so the prize for that one is a 65th egg, and it's like a
Ah.
larger egg. It kind of looks different
Yeah.
than the others. But so what you have to do is go back to kind of the manticore room
Yes.
and like plant the egg essentially.
Oh.
And there's like a whole new kind of set of
Did we
puzzles.
spawn from an egg?
I don't know. I don't know. That I'm asking you, dude. I don't
Really?
know. No,
Because
but
that's the
so
first scene.
yeah, true, true. But so the like a new manticore spawns,
Oh.
and you have to, I think, play like a certain flute note.
Oh
And when
wow.
you do, there's like I forget the whole kind of complexity of the puzzle, but when you do, the manticore comes down and like opens its mouth, and you get into the
No.
manticore,
Oh my god.
and you can like pilot it basically,
What?
but it brings you to like space pretty much,
No,
like
it
you
doesn't.
teleport.
You
Yeah,
leave?
you leave
You
the well.
leave the
That's the second ending. You leave the well.
Wow. But there's no
But
game up in
what
space.
there's game,
Oh my god.
not in the way you're thinking,
Okay.
not like the
There's game
typical
back in the
puzzles.
well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So it takes you in the manticore, you teleport to like another dimension pretty much, like space. Probably the same dimension, I don't know. But so you get there, and if you found any of the secret bunnies along the way, they are also
Oh my
there.
god. I found some I mean I knew all these bunnies
Yeah.
were, something, but
Hmm.
also there's a whole map of a bunny,
Yeah.
and but
Yes.
I didn't know what it was.
Yep.
Again, I didn't
So so
look anything
that's
up.
all layer 3. All
Okay,
layer 3.
and there's a fourth layer.
There's a fourth
Bro.
layer
I have to put
somehow.
like 20
Yeah.
hours into the
I
game
know. I know.
more now.
But so so yeah, you get to kind of this space environment, um and you get like a second credit scene basically.
Okay.
And you can like kind of a teaser, I guess. You can in space piloting the manticore, you can go in any direction you want,
Hmm.
but it kind of loops on itself. Like it if you just keep going left, you just kind of get the same screen like over and over again pretty much.
Okay.
But and not like they're not identical. I mean they are identical, but like it seems like you're still going, but you're just kind of looping. You're like
Hmm.
you're not really getting anywhere.
Okay.
Um
In space.
in
In
space,
space.
right, in space. So to get to so that's the second ending, right? Might
Okay.
be, you get another credit roll. It's like, okay, maybe this is the end of the
Yeah.
game. It's not the end of the game still somehow. So the kind of third layer is centered around these secret bunnies and the
Okay.
ways to get them. And
Okay.
so they're hidden throughout the map. And when I say hidden, I mean like hidden.
Okay. Yeah, because
Like
there's a
in
couple that you can see.
right, there's a couple you can see. Like it kind of teases you like
Yeah.
that. It shows it in like, the top left of a room, you might see a bunny chilling up
Exactly.
there, but you have
Exactly.
no idea how to get to it.
What when you say get a bunny, what do
Mhm.
you mean? You just have to go to it?
So you pretty much just walk on top of it and it
Okay.
kind of runs into the background, pretty
Ah,
much like
gotcha.
disappears.
Okay.
But as you get bunnies, they appear in this new like space domain, pretty much. So they
Okay.
kind of, as you get them, they kind of stack up. And I forget exactly how many there are. There might be like now 19 or 18 or something.
Okay.
Um, but there's a bunch. There's a bunch of hidden bunnies, and
Yeah.
they like the ways to get them are crazy, like crazy. So you mentioned the big kind of glow bunny mural,
Yeah.
right? There's
Hmm.
like a mural of a bunny jumping. It's like lit up, and it's super cryptic. Like
Yeah.
there's
You have no
nothing.
idea.
You can't interact with it in any way. You can't do anything until you get the remote. So if you go into the room and use the remote, there's an explosion. Dynamite goes off
But
and it uncovers a like remote deck, like a deck of controls that you can use to manipulate the portrait.
okay.
And beneath the remote deck is like a tiny little, I forget how many. It's not like now two, but it might be like 5 by 5 grid of
Uh-huh.
pixels basically. And it's like in the same colors and everything, but it's obviously incomplete.
Okay.
So that is like your bit of the puzzle.
Okay.
And it encourages, so it pretty much requires, I mean, you could maybe do it by yourself. Um, but it pretty much encourages, you might be able to make a bunch of new save files or something, but it pretty much requires you to do this like community involvement, like go on a
Hmm.
Discord, go on a Reddit and say like here's my piece of the puzzle,
Yeah.
because then you have to get, and I think there's 50 of them in
Okay.
total, 50 pieces, and you have to put them all together
That's so many
and it
pieces.
forms, yeah, it's so many pieces.
And there, these pieces. Sorry to cut you off. These pieces are scattered in your own game.
No, you just
Oh,
you just get the one.
actually,
You
you
just get the
get one
one. You get
piece.
one and you have to combine it with everybody else's. You have to go and say like
That's layer
this is
three,
mine. This is
and there's
layer
a
3.
fourth layer.
There's a
I
fourth
can't.
layer.
No, I can't, dude.
So this, yeah. So
I'm finishing layer two. I don't know.
dude, it's
I don't
crazy.
know if I
Like
can
you
do layer
can't,
three
yeah,
and
and
four.
we can talk about this more and like what you can realistically accomplish.
Yeah.
Um but so to get, and this is just for one rabbit. Again, there's a lot of these, a
Yeah.
lot of secret rabbits.
Okay.
Um but you have to combine, all of the community's pieces of the puzzle and put it together, and when you do, you like change the portrait to match what it kind of comes out to be, and a secret rabbit appears and you get that rabbit, and
Okay.
it's like great, cool. There's one where do you know the portrait, it's like a really old-timey like optical illusion of a rabbit and a duck,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it kind
Yeah.
of looks like both.
Uh huh.
So there's a portrait of that
Okay.
on in a random room. I saw it in my playthrough. I don't know if you did.
Uh,
Um,
I know the picture that you're talking about.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But next to it, there's like a code on the wall. These flute codes, right? So
Yeah.
the
So
flute codes
I
get
found flute
more and more.
codes.
Yeah.
But those flute codes, because I did one,
Hmm.
and it was for the cats that are jailed.
Yes.
So that's not layer. That's layer three.
Mm-mm. That's
Ah.
layer two.
Oh, it is layer two. Okay.
So
Never
that's
mind.
layer
Never mind.
two because you have to do that to get the top, I think, or no, the wheel. You
Oh, I
have to
didn't get the
free.
wheel.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You have to free the cats to get the wheel.
Oh,
So that's
cool.
like completionist, I guess.
Yeah.
But that's like, so it's hard to find for the cat puzzle specifically. You have to find all of the different ones, and I think there's now 5 cats in
Hmm.
total. And you have to go and find all these little nooks where it has flute codes, right?
Yeah.
And you play the flute code and it's free.
Yeah.
But in those situations, the flute code is there, everything past that layer, the flute codes are like encrypted in some way.
Mm-hmm.
So like in this one with the rabbit and the duck portrait, it's portrayed, you know how the ghosts have like, now like 19 or something, they like kind of rotate expressions, right?
Oh
When the
yeah, yeah, yeah.
ghost comes on the
Hmm.
screen, it like frowns and it's happy, or like, it just cycles through all these
Yeah.
expressions. There's a secret room when you get the UV light.
Oh my god.
Did you not get the UV light?
No.
Oh my god.
What the
I
heck?
mean, come on.
What? I didn't get the wheel or the UV light.
Yeah.
And what else?
Those are probably the only two you didn't
Maybe.
get.
I think I no. I think I'm missing three. Maybe there's something else that I didn't get.
Yeah, I can't think of it right
Uh,
now,
oh
probably.
my god.
Um,
I'm terrible.
but so you get the lamp, right, that
Yeah.
shows everything, but the UV light, like there's so much on the walls of every room
Okay.
that,
Okay.
and it's like all related to these like deeper puzzles pretty
So
much.
definitely you need, you need that two for layer three. Like the
Totally.
UV light
Yeah,
isn't really
totally.
for completionist
Yeah,
level
I
two.
think you get it as a part of like completionist layer 2, but
Yeah.
you need it for
For
sure
layer
for
three.
layer
Gotcha.
3.
Gotcha.
Yeah. um what was I saying? So these, with the UV light, you reveal there's like a wheel pretty much of the facial expressions of
Right.
the ghosts, and it corresponds to notes on the flute.
Gotcha.
So you now have this, duck and rabbit portrait, and you have this code of flute notes if you kind of match them one to one and figure it out, but you don't know where to play it. So there's a
Oh my
room,
god.
and it's like right next to the statue room with a duck in it, right?
Uh-huh. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So if you play this flute code near the duck, it transforms into a rabbit
Oh my
and you get
god.
the rabbit.
Okay.
My favorite, so we get all of them, like all of the rabbit puzzles. And I encourage you, like, if you're listening at home or playing along, or just like
Yeah.
like doing them is fun because they're just so crazy. And you
Yeah.
you have to look up guides.
A hundred
You have
percent.
to.
There's no way. I
Um,
mean, I'm sure someone out there can
yeah,
play
probably
without
someone,
looking up
maybe
guys.
like
Not
now
me.
3 people could probably do it.
Yeah,
Like now
but
3 people. Um, but yeah, no, you can't. Like
yeah.
you just have to. But and we could talk, like all of them are super cool.
Yeah,
They're
yeah, yeah.
they're all really interesting puzzles. My favorite, and the one that my jaw like dropped.
Uh-huh.
So this requires like a bit of setup.
Okay, okay.
So the egg room, right?
Yeah.
There's all of the eggs, all 64 eggs kind of laid out.
Hmm.
When you turn on the UV light, you realize that every egg has a line or multiple lines on it. So like they'll have 1 line, 2 line, 3 lines, or
Oh,
like some combination of those.
yeah.
And if you go to, I think past that, like past the walls that open up,
Uh-huh.
there's a peacock thing on the wall. And
Yeah.
if you light it up, it tells you kind of corresponding to the different directions it goes in. Um, it tells you what notes they correspond to,
Oh my
like
god.
8 different
Yeah, yeah,
directions.
yeah.
But if you turn the UV on, it shows you that certain directions, or all of the directions, correspond to the lines on the eggs. And so I think it's actually encoded in like some kind of binary, basically,
Oh my
setup. So it only tells you like three of what the lines mean, and you have to figure out what the rest are
yeah.
using this like binary pattern. But so you have to go in the room once you do all this work figuring out like what the different notes are. You go in the egg room with all the different eggs, and you have to play. So each egg has a line or
Hmm.
multiple lines on it. So you have to play a 64 note flute code. And then it opens up another
Oh
room
my
on
god.
the top right of the screen, and that gives you the office key. So in the house, did you
Uh-huh.
notice in the house
Yes.
there's a second layer,
Yeah, yeah,
but
yeah.
it's locked?
Uh-huh.
So the office
Oh my
key
god.
gives you access kind of to that top
Yeah.
layer. And there's a computer in the top layer.
Why a computer?
And if you turn on the computer, wait for it. If you turn on the computer, it like loads up, it has like little dots. It looks like a progress bar, kind of like three
Sure.
three dots kind of loading, and it just looks like it's not really doing anything, right?
Yeah.
If there's a printer connected to the computer you're playing the game on, it
No.
prints out origami instructions.
What?
Yes,
Origami for you to make.
for you to make. You have to
What the
make
hell,
the
dude?
origami
No,
yourself, and
no.
it has another flute code on
There's
it.
no
Then
who,
you play the flute code, and a rabbit comes out of the computer, and you
bro.
get it.
There is no way.
I'm telling you, when I
The
learned about this, my jaw hit the
origami
floor.
gives you a flute code.
Yes.
Oh my god. What? Wait. What? What is your origami?
It's all the same. It's like a little rabbit. It's
Oh,
an
it's something you make a
origami
little
rabbit.
rabbit.
Yeah,
I just want to do it
I
just so I
know,
can
I
know how to
know.
make a
Yeah,
little
I
rabbit
know.
origami.
It's an origami rabbit.
I so this is side note. Katie and I's computer printer sometimes like in the middle of the night it turns on.
Oh my god! It's the game, dude. It's
It's
the game.
so scary, and Katie always gets so scared. I mean, I get scared too, but I don't know why
I
it
mean, she
happens. I'm
should.
sure
That's
it's
terrifying.
some sort of like firmware update or some sort of update
Yeah,
that it does, and then it needs to like recalibrate or something.
yeah.
But every like few weeks, the printer turns on and it starts like nah, 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 and stuff
That's
like that.
terrifying.
And if when I was playing Animal Well, I was playing at night mostly.
Mhm.
If I was playing that and I did it, and then my printer would turn on, I would literally throw
Yeah,
my
and it
computer
and
to
it
the
doesn't
wall.
tell you this is happening, right? It doesn't say like now printing to your computer. It's just like you hit the computer and it's just like little dots and you're like, what could that mean?
That
And then all of a
is,
sudden your printer fires up and it's
oh
like,
my
what's
god,
happening?
dude! I don't know if you noticed when you downloaded this game,
Mhm.
it's like 30 megabytes.
Tiny. It's
Oh,
tiny.
what? There is so much more content in this
Yeah.
game than games that are like 100
Oh my
gigabytes.
god. Easily.
It's
Easily.
ridiculous. Billy Basso again,
The goat.
the goat, dude.
He could so the entire like engine of the game he wrote
I
himself,
mean,
like
dude,
from
I
scratch.
feel like
The particle physics, the smoke physics, which looks sick in game,
yeah,
like with the ghosts and stuff, all entirely like done by himself. The music he did entirely by himself, graphics, everything, like
dude,
incredible.
he knows how to make everything. It's
Yeah.
kind of crazy.
So this is the rabbits, right?
Yeah.
There's so many of these different rabbits. We talked
So and
about
every rabbit is such a fun, like
every
crazy puzzle.
every
Yeah.
rabbit is a crazy
I
puzzle,
mean, yeah,
like a
that's
crazy puzzle.
ridiculous.
And we mentioned like now 5 of them maybe, but there's a bunch of them.
Hmm.
So once you get them, like I said, they kind of go to the Sky Island where you can go after completing layer 2.
Hey man, we call it space. So
Space, Sky Island, whatever you want to call it. But so all these bunnies are just like jumping around, like having a good time, doing whatever. And like there's nothing, you can't interact with them. They're just like jumping back and forth, chilling, like
yeah,
doing their thing. So the ultimate puzzle of layer 3 is that as the rabbits move around, they're spaced out through like a bunch of different screens. There's like a
you still
so
have to
many.
ride the,
No, once you get there, you can like dismount and
and you
just
can just
walk
walk.
around.
Okay.
Yeah, but you can just like ride around in your boy the Manticore, like however much you want.
He's so
Um,
scary though.
he is so scary. So the rabbit, like you can't interact with them; they're just doing their own thing. But you realize their ears are flopping around in a
Uh-huh.
particular way.
Oh my god.
And this just like everything in this game has a purpose, right?
It.
Everything, like the little sprites on the wall have a purpose.
Yeah.
Every little particle thing has a
I
purpose.
feel like
But
a
like
fool.
I know it makes you
It
feel
makes
dumb,
me feel
right?
so
That's
dumb.
what I'm saying. But so you just notice this, right? If you go back in the office, there's like a whiteboard
Hmm.
and it tells you, I think like secure file transfer protocol or something.
Okay.
There's 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 a bunny data transfer
Oh
protocol
my god.
in the game. So there is like a code encrypted in the directions of the bunny's ears,
Mm.
and there's like instructions on the whiteboard that tells you how to decrypt it. Like
Oh my
each,
god.
like a bunny ear might be straight up, and
Yeah.
that relates to like a 1, or it might be like this, which relates to a 3 or down or whatever. And so, but it's encrypted in a 4-bit, like a 4-bit number
Okay.
basically.
Yeah.
So you have to get all the different rabbit ear, like write down what all the directions correspond to, and that gives you a 4-bit number.
Yeah.
You have to convert that number to like a regular bit decimal, and it tells you the index of that bunny. So you have to do all of them and get an order of bunnies and then the directions that their ears are telling you. Once you have all of this information, you go into the manticore, and I mentioned these like looping kind of night sky like star, screens, right?
Yeah.
Once you go into the manticore and you have all of this like crazy bunny ear knowledge, it tells you like a path to go on those looping screens. So you go like left, up, left, down, up 3 times, right 3 times, and
Yeah.
this isn't the actual code,
Yeah.
but
I know.
like
I'm
it just
writing it down. I'm
it's
writing it
this
down.
long list of directions to go pretty much. And if you go that specific set of directions, it brings you to a new
Oh my
bunny
god.
temple. And in the bunny temple is a giant bunny that eats you.
No.
And in the giant bunny, you have to go through its digestive
Oh my
system,
god.
and it poops you out as like a moth and gives you the ability to fly.
Oh my
So
god.
from that point on, you
Oh
can you
my
can
god.
double jump and just fly
You can
around
just
as a little
keep
moth.
flying.
You just fly around. Like
Are
it gives
we
you.
are we like a little caterpillar?
I don't
I
know
don't
what you
know.
are.
No,
Like,
you're
are
just
you
a little
supposed to
circle,
be a
dude.
little grub? Like, and we
Uh,
can get into like our lore theories in a little
oh
bit
my
maybe.
god.
Um, but so it just gives you this whole new way to
Yeah.
explore the game.
Yeah.
And so you think, yeah, but there's not like a ton to do with the moth ability. Like
Yeah.
you can maybe solve puzzles in different ways, or just like explore areas you couldn't reach. But like, there's not really a ton more to do. But there is. There's so that was layer 3.
Yeah.
Finding all of the crazy
I feel
rabbits.
overwhelmed.
It's overwhelming. It is like unmasking this crazy encrypted, sequence of directions from the bunny ears in the bunny data transfer protocol is just layer 3.
Yeah.
And so I think when you hear Billy talk about the game, to me, I think layers 1 and layers 2 is like realistically what you as a person can accomplish.
Right.
Like, and we both in layer 2, if we had enough time, if we were dedicated enough,
Yeah.
we could both complete
A hundred
the
percent.
100% of like the game, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I think everything past that, like layer 3 specifically, has to be some element of community involvement,
Yeah.
because they're just too cryptic.
Which
They're
is so
too
smart. I
like
mean, you
spread
want
out.
people to talk about your game, to
Yes,
work
I think
together
it's super smart,
towards,
super smart.
figuring something out. And I mean,
Yeah.
who doesn't love a game that still has things to figure,
Hmm.
that you have to figure out?
Yeah.
Whether that is from speed running community or from puzzles like this. I
Yeah.
mean, you want to figure everything out, and
Totally.
they're really, this is such a gem. They
Yeah.
found such a gem.
Yeah. And so like, but layer 3, I think there's still enough in the game where it was like realistically meant to be accomplished.
Mm-hmm.
Layer 4, according to Billy, like he pretty much didn't, like it was pretty much designed not to be solved.
Oh my
But it was solved within like 5 days of the game being
Was it?
released. Yes,
Oh my
people
god.
went insane with
Yeah.
these
Yeah.
puzzles.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was so
I'm sure
incredible.
they didn't.
So
I mean, they probably didn't envision this game to blow up as much as it did.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
maybe they did, but I don't
Hmm.
know. That's wild.
Yeah. So the fourth layer, the puzzles in the fourth layer, right? Now you can be a little moth and fly around and do whatever you want. But the puzzles in layer 4 are like super cryptic. Like you have to, it's not even puzzles really. You just have to do like weird things that you would never think to do, pretty
Mm-hmm.
much. Like like there's no clues, there's nothing really. Like one of them is the hummingbirds that like
Yeah.
pop your bubbles.
Oh, I hate them so much.
So
So
the
annoying.
hummingbirds, you can get an upgraded version of the bubble wand. Did you know that?
No, I did not know
Okay, so you can
that.
get a version of the bubble wand that you can blow as many bubbles as you want.
Oh
Like they
my
don't
god,
pop as
that'd be
you blow it.
amazing.
Yeah, it's sick. Um, so once you have that, you basically just have to blow like 1,000 bubbles in a row, and the hummingbird pops all of them and gets like annoyed. So you have to do this for like probably like a minute straight. Like
Yeah,
just have it
just
constant, like spamming bubbles pretty much. And eventually at a certain point, the hummingbird like gets tired and spits out like this bit of like Unicode, pretty much, like just symbols,
Uh-huh.
like not text, just symbols.
Yeah.
And it looks like nothing at first glance. Like it looks like just like random Unicode, like wingding symbols, pretty
Hmm.
much. And so there's a bunch of stuff like that. Like there's one with the kangaroos
Oh my
where
god. Yeah,
you
yeah,
have
yeah.
to get the kangaroo stuck in like a pit and then throw a bunch of fireworks at it so that it can't leave, because normally you hit it with a firework and it leaves,
Yeah.
but you have to get it to where it's stuck and then throw enough fireworks at it, and again it like gets annoyed and spits this code out at you. So there's a bunch of these just like weird little puzzles that just like there's no indication of what you're supposed to do. It's just like random stuff, pretty
Yeah.
much, that nobody should ever like think of doing, but people did. And I think there's maybe 8 of them in total, I forget.
8 of these codes.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And so you have this string of Unicode, and if you found one like by accident, again you would look at it and just think like
The
that's
game's
nonsense,
broken.
that's
Yeah.
nonsense, yeah. But what you don't come to realize, what somebody figured out, is that there's a poster in on the wall of the house,
Okay.
and the poster is segmented. Like when you just look at the poster, it just looks like a bunch of colored lines,
Hmm.
but it's broken up in like specific ways, like there's kind of
Hmm.
layers, and the Unicode text that comes out of these little weird interactions is in particular shapes. So you have to
Hmm.
go into the poster, not in game, but like on a notepad probably,
And just
and
write everything down.
fit each code like
Yeah.
where it fits into these little segments. And when you do that, it spells out like a path, pretty
Oh
much,
my
and you have to
god.
like complete the path.
Yeah.
And
From
so
the house
now,
or from where? Do you know?
so you have to go back to the bunny temple
Ah,
where you got turned into like a moth, and
yeah.
there's like a little flag you start at. And so using this path, you go and follow it like along the whole thing, kind of same as the big manticore like puzzle, pretty much. But you follow this crazy path, and then eventually you land at just like a very innocuous little island. So there's like a few little layers of dirt to break using the top, and then there's a time capsule. And so, but so this is it. This is the end.
Okay.
So with the time capsule, there's like a really sweet message, like a recorded audio message from
Yeah.
Billy, and Donkey's in it, and I think somebody else that worked on the game is in it.
What?
And it's just like 5 minutes of like audio of them just saying like, thank you so much for playing the game. Like,
Wow.
we're so honored to have people like you that would dedicate your time to solving these ridiculous puzzles, and like it's just very sweet.
That
It's
is
like
so
it's like a
beautiful.
really nice kind of bow on the game, I think.
Yeah.
um but it's super cool. So
Wow.
but again, like this was the layer that's like not really meant to be found, and I think the time capsule is kind of indicative of that, because it's like you don't know when this puzzle might be solved. It might be solved in 5 days, like it was, or it might be solved in 5 years or
Yeah.
50 years or
Yeah.
whatever.
And it's
But
like
like,
their little legacy,
yeah, it's
just a
like a
little
little
bit of
legacy. Yeah,
something that will never die.
yeah,
It'll be
yeah.
them forever.
But I think that's pretty much it. Like
No,
that's the
no,
game.
that's pretty much
That's
it.
it. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
all of these
Well,
crazy.
you barely talk, so yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
it's just nothing. 2 minutes of whatever.
Yeah, but I mean,
No.
yeah, those are the layers of Animal Well, the 4 layers. And to me, this was like and in the grand scheme of things, I accomplished very little in
Oh,
the game,
100%.
right? Like I maybe 30% of the game when
This
you
is
actually
an
think about it.
iceberg of a game,
Total
and you
iceberg.
think that is, yeah, it's just the top and or the
Yeah.
tip, and it's nothing.
Yeah.
It's anything but.
Anything but. Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
I feel like such a dummy again, and I need
Yeah.
to play the game right now.
Yeah.
So with that, we're gonna take a little break. We're gonna ask each other some questions from us and maybe from some fans out there.
Ooh.
Oh, what? And we'll be right back. Welcome to part 2 of Video Game Book Club, where we ask each other questions and we also ask each other viewer and listener questions. So thank you for those
Yeah.
who commented on our
Yeah.
social media. Ben, since you picked the game, you can ask the first question.
Okay, well, I think it's only right that we start with our viewer question.
Yes.
So we got our first viewer question this week. It comes from Joe Kennedy. And Joe asked a really good question. It's kind of a
Oh,
thought provoker.
okay.
So Joe asked, and if you guys want to ask questions in the future, we're going to put up kind of Instagram posts before each new episode
Yeah,
where you can go and comment your question, and we'll talk about it on the show. So if you want your question in next month's episode, go do that.
we'll do it right
Um,
now.
but so this question from Joe Kennedy. So Joe says, Animal Well would likely go under the radar like thousands of other games if not for its prevalence in streaming and content. What
Hmm.
makes a game especially streamable in your eyes, and what makes Animal Well fit in that category to you?
Wow, that is a really good question.
It's a good question.
Um, I think my first thought
Mm-hmm.
to a response for this question is that I don't think Animal Well is like 1,000 other games,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
just because it has a huge popularity immediately
Yeah.
from Video Game Donkey. I
Totally.
mean, Video Game Donkey
Totally.
has almost 10 million subscribers, maybe more.
Yeah.
Each episode that he puts out, which is usually a review of a game that he played,
Mm-hmm.
Video Game Donkey is so popular that he doesn't need to have like he doesn't play the same games. He plays
Right.
Crazy Taxi one day, and then the next day
Yeah.
he plays like Powerpuff Girls
Yeah.
Nintendo
Like
64 game. I don't know.
Dragon's Dogma or
Then he
Yakuza or
yeah,
like
and then he
something
plays
crazy.
Yakuza, which is like a 80-hour game.
Yeah.
He puts out a 3-minute video and says it was
Mm-hmm.
pretty good, and then that's it. I mean, because he's so funny and
Yeah, it's
he's
classic.
he knows how YouTube works. Sorry to go super deep on Video Game Donkey, but there was a million people at
Yeah.
least waiting to buy this game.
Yeah.
Now, to the credit Animal Well and credit Joe for the question, I think one thing that I mentioned at the beginning of the game, of the conversation was every single room
Mm-hmm.
that you go into in Animal Well has something for you to discover, whether that
Totally.
is a puzzle or an egg or a candle or a ghost following you or the wiener dog.
Yeah.
I think nowadays everything has to be a clip. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, this might be a clip, you know. And if you can put content or a puzzle solving in 45-second chunks,
Mm-hmm.
it's so digestible, especially if you have a good personality and you're fun or you're funny, like a lot of streamers that are popular are.
Yeah.
And a lot of Metroidvanias, like Animal Well, clearly a Metroidvania,
Mm-hmm.
they aren't room by room. You go at the end of the screen and there is an end of the screen. You're in the middle and you keep going and you keep going. And that's a lot harder to clip and a lot harder to digest. But Animal Well, you can break it up into 1,000 little pieces because
Yeah.
there's so much to do
Mm-hmm.
and so much silliness or scariness sometimes in one little screen. And I
Yeah.
think that makes it perfect for streaming.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. What I would add to that is with some of these late game puzzles, you you can do, the first two layers of the game, like we said, yourself probably.
Yeah.
Um, but once you get past that point, you ask yourself the question, the game shows you that there's more there. There's more there. Like there's never a question of that. But you have to ask yourself the question almost like, do I want to do this? Do I want to put in this time? And I know there's like communities of people, like I said, the game was pretty much solved within 5 days, which is
That's
crazy.
crazy.
But there's communities of people where you can like join a new kind of like hunting group, pretty
Yeah.
much like everybody going in kind of like making an agreement, like let's not spoil it for ourselves, let's go in as a group and try to figure it out like amongst us.
Yeah.
So you don't have those like guides or anything like that. um, so you can kind of do it in that way, but you have to ask yourself, like, do I want to go through that effort or not? And if
Mm-hmm.
you don't, and my suspicion is a lot of people that play the game, like you said, the audience is huge because of Donkey. The built-in audience is massive, and my suspicion is a lot of people probably won't want to do that. Like, you
Yeah.
don't want to beat your head against the wall trying to figure out the puzzle to get you a rabbit in one room that is itself just another big puzzle,
Yeah.
right? Like, so a lot of people want to just tune into these YouTube videos or streams or check out the shorts, like you were saying, and see like somebody that maybe is tapped into this community or is solving it on their own or doing whatever, see how it all kind of shakes out and see like you can like I didn't solve a lot of these puzzles myself, but my mind was blown by
Yeah.
some of them. Like even if I wasn't doing it, it was just like, how does someone think of this, right?
Hmm.
And it's incredible. So I think just that the attractiveness of even if you yourself aren't going to do it, watching someone else do it or watching someone else figure it out is huge for drawing people to streams and stuff like that.
Yeah, I also, to add to that, the community sense. I mean, Donkey has a community that, to me, they're fun, they're silly, they're dumb, and they do,
Yeah.
Animal Well is Halo 2 meets Halo 3, and it's just
Right.
hilarious. But it's pretty benign,
Mhm.
like they're just funny and
Yeah,
silly, and
exactly.
kind
Yeah.
of,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of streamers out there that have a pretty like polarized, they're famous because of that.
Right.
The sense of community that Donkey has like shifted towards with Big Mode, and
Yeah.
obviously with Animal Well, and kind of saying, hey, and with the time capsule that you're saying, like he's really growing and saying, hey, I love making these videos because of the love for gaming, and I'm
Mhm.
trying to make and publish the best. He's not making the games; he's publishing the best games that can be community wise, and I think that helps a lot.
Totally.
Um, yeah, also I think honestly I would love to like jump on a streamer stream and just like comment funny stuff as they're trying to figure out puzzles that maybe I
Yeah.
already did.
Yeah.
That helps too, that adds
Yeah,
to
of course.
stuff. Obviously the viewers of streamers make a streamer, right? Again, one of my favorite ones is Northern Lion, and he
Mhm.
gets triggered so much by people in the chat telling him that he's dumb
Oh
when he's trying
yeah.
to figure out puzzles and stuff, and he goes on rants, and it just makes it funny. And
Yeah.
yeah, so just the nature of a puzzle game that is actually difficult, and there's a lot of layers to it, four
Yeah.
layers,
Yep.
it adds to that. But thank you so much, Joe, for the question.
Thanks, Joe.
You're a real one, and we're always going to remember the first question of
Yeah.
Video Game Book Club.
Yes.
But let me turn it over to myself because there's no one else. Not
Turn
our
it over to
questions. It's just for
yourself.
me, and I'm gonna ask you some like rapid fire questions. That's
Okay.
kind of what I have for
Let's
you,
do it.
and I'll answer. You answer.
Yeah.
My first question is, what's your favorite animal that is either a friend or a foe in the game? Because it's only animals. So you
Yeah.
can give me both. You can give me a friend, and then you can give me a foe.
Foe has to be the wiener dog. Obviously,
you're
like that
you're
guy,
so
dude,
traumatized.
that guy traumatized me. I was like delirious when I encountered it. It lives in my brain forever, the wiener dog, for sure. My favorite, I don't know. I think like the seahorse guy
Hmm.
had maybe the coolest design almost. Like it was
Mm-hmm.
just kind of unique. Um the cats were super cool. The like lynx, the mama lynx, was really cool. Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to pick a favorite.
Yeah.
Definitely. What about you?
I really love those birds that would catch you, or like that
Mm-hmm.
would follow you always as you're flying. I
Yeah.
guess I don't know what kind of birds they are, but I really like them.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
I
The
thought
like
the
ghost, the
the
ghost
ghost
birds.
birds,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, where if you have a flame or a firecracker, then you can go
Yep.
through them and stuff, which solves some puzzles.
Mm-hmm.
So those were cool. I hated, and I said this in the first uh, section, those hummingbirds destroying my bubble. I was so
So annoying.
mad
So
every
annoying.
time. So annoyed. But really like a funny answer to this too. I love those fishes that transport you around
Oh
the map.
yeah.
What are they doing? They're just hanging
They're
out in the
just chilling,
tubes,
bro.
and they're
Just
just
chilling.
they just kind of eat you,
Yeah. Sure.
and then you go through. And I thought it was funny. But honestly, all of the uh, I have a question for you actually
Okay.
from this. That beaver that is in that like cave, that's a fun
Yep.
friend. Is that a
So
puzzle? Did you
that
figure that
that
out?
is one of the like layer 4 Unicode
Oh,
puzzles. That's
that's
one
one
of
of
like the
deep,
deepest puzzles
because
in the game.
everyone that played this game
Yeah, you
knows
see
that
the
that was
beaver.
something. You
Yeah,
see the
and it's like
beaver
you
pretty quickly.
yeah, you try to figure out like it always goes in the
It
hole. You
always.
try to figure it out.
I
So
was
the
like, yo,
solution,
firecracker, nothing.
yeah, nothing. So It's a groundhog.
Oh, a groundhog. Okay.
What you have to do is set the date of your console to Groundhog's Day.
I hate you, dude. Not
And when
you.
you do that and go back to it on Groundhog's Day, it comes out of the hole and it gives you a potion. And the potion increases your max number of hearts.
Oh.
But that's not it.
No.
You have to go to next year's Groundhog Day and do it again, and it gives you another heart. And then next year's Groundhog Day and do it again, it gives you another heart. You have to get a certain number of max HP and then let one of the chameleons eat you. Because the chameleon boss, if it eats you, it kills you.
Mhm.
Except if you have enough max HP, it doesn't kill you. And when that happens, it spits out one of these Unicode messages. So just, like we already talked about this, but just another example of the ridiculous puzzles in this game.
That is so ridiculous, dude.
Yep.
I am. This killed me. I thought we were past these crazy puzzles from
Nope.
part one. My mind is still blown. Just not even blown. It's almost like melted
Yeah.
from all this stuff. And now you're telling me this. That's crazy.
Yep.
Ah, okay.
Oh yeah, there's so much
There's so
more like we
much. I
didn't even
mean, there's so
mention.
much.
Yeah, so much.
Um, okay. Second rapid fire. What's your favorite area from the Four Flames? We both agreed.
Yeah.
Bottom right.
I think so. I think it was like the most challenging of the
Yeah.
four, which made it my
But the
favorite.
wiener dog top left still haunts you.
Yes, for sure.
What was your favorite item?
My favorite item, I think the most like unique and fun to me was the bubble wand.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the remote was awesome, and like the UV lamp and the lantern just showed so much, and it was super cool. But I think like the interactable items, probably either the yo-yo or the bubble wand.
I didn't get the UV light, so
Hmm.
thank you for rubbing that in. No, I think the frisbee was definitely so fun. The first time that I frisbee rode,
Yeah,
it was exhilarating. I mean, I was
yeah, it's
so
like,
happy, so excited. I was like, I can do this. I did it
yep,
by accident too. I didn't even try
yep,
to ride the frisbee. I just did it. That was my favorite. And the slinky again, it was my first item,
hmm,
and it was just so fun. It just introduced the game's creativity immediately using
yeah,
the slinky. I've never used something like that
yeah,
in a game. So that one for sure. And the remote is just so useful.
yeah.
Do you remember a puzzle that was like too challenging for you that you had to quit and come back, or
Mm,
that you figured you kind of bashed your head on the wall?
yeah, that's a good question. I think it took me a while to figure out that you had to like backtrack a bit in the ostrich, the bottom
Me
right
too. Me
quadrant, that
too.
you had to backtrack and like go all the way back and reverse the course of like the platforms and then go back through. It took me a while to figure that part out. But I don't think there was a puzzle that stumped me for like too long. Like on that one I probably quit and came back to it a little later. But yeah, I think that's about it. What about you?
Same for me. It
Yeah.
was that one. Again, it was gonna be my second flame.
Hmm.
I couldn't figure it out in the moment. I left, did the other flames, and I came back for the fourth. That was my fourth flame.
Yeah.
Um, the other one that I enjoyed, and I was like, "There's something here." Was there's a in the top left? There's like those two like screens, or maybe three even, that have the two merlins.
Hmm.
Those fish.
Yeah.
uh, I think that's what it's called, Merlin's, those fish. And you have to go and frisbee ride through like the
Right.
water.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I did it the first time, and I had the slinky probably the first time I did it because again, slinky was my first item, and I didn't see that I had to slinky down
Hmm.
on the water to
Yeah.
open the
Yeah.
thing,
That
and
was
I was like, oh,
super.
this is something that I have to come back
Hmm.
later. I'll come back. Again, I had all the items. I had like beaten
Hmm.
the first part of the game, and I was like, I'm gonna go back, and I still couldn't
Yeah.
see
I
it.
think. I
Sometimes
think.
you just can't see things,
Yeah. I think the game is expecting you to be conditioned to when you see those like stepwise stairs to be like, oh, slinky. But yeah, it's one of those things where like if you're not looking out for it, you might miss it for
Yeah.
sure.
So I missed it. Um, and I asked you this question
Hmm.
for last game. So again, it's coming back. It's my final rapid fire. Would you change anything about this game?
That's such a tough question. I feel like it's hard to like experience all of the game by yourself
Mm.
without relying on guides, but I think it's meant to be that way. Like it feels as like a singular player, you want to feel like you can like 100% the game, but that's just not the case for every game.
Mm-mm.
And I think this game is like built with that in mind. So like I would say I maybe want to change that and like just make it, I don't know. Like I was about to say make it more accessible, but I don't want it to be more accessible. Like the fact that these puzzles are so ridiculous and we all get to like experience and explore that, whether or not you're the one actually making these discoveries, um, I think is awesome. So I don't know. I don't know if there's I think one thing I might say is just making like that first layer of the game, the base layer, just like a little more difficult.
Mm.
Because I think the puzzles in that layer were just a little too easy sometimes, and the bosses especially, like making the bosses a little more interesting or something could be, but that's like a nitpick. Like this is such a good game, so yeah, I don't know.
Such a good game. I think the bosses maybe. I agree.
Hmm.
I wouldn't. Yeah, I wouldn't change anything about the game itself. What I
Yeah,
was gonna say is it would be fun if I could play this with Katie or play this with someone.
yeah,
If there could
co-op.
be like
Hmm.
co-op, it doesn't have to be like super intrusive co-op where like you're both in different screens. It's kind of like the Nintendo Switch new Super Mario Bros. Or whatever,
Hmm.
or where you have to wait for the other person to go to the other screen, or they go with you on the next
Hmm.
screen. If I could like bring her along and figure out puzzles together,
Yeah, and
that would be
then
super fun.
I'm sure Billy could come up with some good co-op puzzles, so
Yeah. Oh my god,
that'd be
it
pretty
would.
cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like if I could have a
Hey, Animal Well
Pico
2.
Park. Yeah,
Maybe
Animal Well
Animal
or
Well
like a
2.
Pico Park. Did you play Pico Park?
No, no.
It's kind of like a party puzzle game.
Hmm.
It's super fun if you play with like lots of people on the same console. You
Yeah.
can get up to 8, and you just have to figure out puzzles in the same vein of Animal Well, like pressing buttons and
Hmm.
like making like a human ladder to
Nice.
like
Yeah.
So if we could do something like that, that would be awesome. But no, I mean
Yeah.
that's a ridiculous ask. The game is amazing. Like
Yeah.
love it. Do you have another question?
Yeah, so I guess we can end with this. Like I feel like this game takes uh inspiration from so many different other games. So my kind of last question for you is like what game or games does this game most remind you of, and like what those influences are to you?
Immediately when I started playing, it was a mix of like Hollow Knight and Dead Cells for me.
Right.
Dead Cells because it is more pixelated graphics and I could like really enjoy. You know how like in Dead Cells the main character is like you have like a flame for a head,
Hmm.
and the flame um it kind of has like almost like a smokiness to it.
Yeah.
In this game, it's all pixel art, but a lot of the animals have like smokiness to them too, and
Yeah.
that like
Yeah.
smoke and on top of the pixel just makes it so modern, makes it look so good. So just visually from Dead Cells,
Yeah.
and then from Hollow Knight, obviously there's no combat in this game, so it's hard to pick a
Right.
game that is
Yeah,
like
that's a
this.
pretty big
But
difference.
I feel like Hollow Knight was one of those games that really like stuck with me with finding out how to traverse a world
Yeah.
that is so interconnected,
Yeah.
and this game is like that. I mean, the first time that I went at the edge of the map in Animal Well, and then I realized no, now I'm just on the other side of the map.
Yeah.
It's just as cool as when you figure stuff like that out in Hollow Knight. So
Totally. Yeah,
no,
totally.
I haven't played a game like this honestly,
Hmm.
that is so intense
Hmm.
without having combat. It's
Yeah.
so intense, and there's nothing for you to fight.
Yeah,
It's
true.
amazing.
A game it really reminded me of the like late game kind of puzzles was Tunic. Have you played
Yes.
Tunic?
Oh, that is such a good answer.
So
Yeah, I didn't
the
even think of that.
the puzzles in Tunic, and I think that there's a reference to Tunic in the game, so it's like it's very obvious that it's a big inspiration. But like the late game, I don't know how far you explored in Tunic, but like the golden path with the D-pad and like the puzzles and inputting stuff in a certain order like reminded me so much of like the flute codes, and even some of the like final puzzles in the game with like the directions and stuff reminded me of like the big puzzles in Tunic and stuff like that. But yeah, in terms of the puzzling aspect, I think that was probably a big influence
Yeah,
for
wow.
sure.
I didn't finish Tunic actually. It
Okay.
was one of those games where I actually funny enough, I was playing through Dark Souls Remastered,
Hmm.
my first Dark Souls game. My first Soulsborne game. Like I wasn't really playing. I played Hollow Knight and then I was like, "Oh, I need to play a Dark Souls game.
Hmm.
Never played it before. So I played Hollow Knight, then I played Dark Souls, and then I was gonna play Tunic, and it was just too much like Souls like
Yeah, it's
in a
too much Souls
row,
like.
and I was like, oh,
Yeah,
I like fell off
so
of it.
Tunic is funny like that, and if you didn't complete it, you probably wouldn't know this. But so it presents itself as a Souls like, right?
Mm-hmm.
But once you like finish the game, it becomes like a crazy puzzle game.
Okay.
It's super unique, I
Yeah.
think, in that way, and like a crazy thing to experience.
Another solo
Um,
developer too.
yeah,
So
yeah, true.
I do have one more question. So,
Okay.
but it was not one of my rapid fire
Yeah,
questions. My last question. So this is a Metroidvania. It's a puzzle game, but it's has the Metroidvania recipe. Even though to me this is one of the better Metroidvania recipe games out there.
yeah.
They just really ask the question, can you figure out the puzzles, or can you go forwards with the tools that you have, and you're not
Hmm.
just waiting for that double jump or the double jump dash or the hook,
Right.
the grappling hook or something.
Hmm.
It's like really asking you to play the game, not
Hmm.
just like wait for those items. But because it's a Metroidvania, I have a question. Have you ever played Metroid or Castlevania games?
Like the title games, like
Yeah,
Metroid
the
and
title
Castlevania.
games of a
No, no, I
Metroidvania.
haven't.
Oh, you
Yeah,
haven't really?
no, no, not really. I mean, I that's not true. I think I played a Metroid game on the DS, but I don't even remember
Ooh,
what it was.
man, I don't know what
Um,
the I know the Metroid game for the DS. I don't remember what the Metroid what it's called.
yeah.
Um, I grew up playing Metroid, the Metroid Prime games.
Okay.
So from Metroid, it was just that. My siblings were just absolutely they loved Metroid Prime,
Okay.
Metroid Prime Two for the GameCube. So I played that with them. I was terrible at it. I was like maybe a little too young, and I
Yeah.
just or maybe I
Yeah.
was a dummy. I don't know, and I couldn't figure out the
Yeah.
Metroidvania aspect of it, because I mean Metroid Prime took Metroidvania, or search action games is what people call it in Japan. They call it like that too,
Okay.
and they took it to the next level because it was 3D now. It
Mm,
worked the same way as Metroid and Castlevania worked, but it's not just a 2D platforming game anymore. It's 3D. It's an actual like first person role playing game, kind of, well, not role playing, but a first person game. But Castlevania, actually, I have a in our channel. I do best Game Boy games,
yeah.
and the next video is Castlevania 2: Belmont's Revenge,
Uh,
and I just played it. So that one is now finally I played my first Castlevania game. I hadn't played it, and it was really
nice.
fun. And obviously, I can tell why everything is inspired
Mm,
by Castlevania and Metroid.
yeah.
But no, only those two. I want to play more after playing this Metroid, Hollow Knight, all those
Hmm.
games. Is just I don't know. I can't get enough of the search action games
Yeah. Yeah.
right now.
Nice.
That's it for me for the questions.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
Ben, let's wrap Animal Well up.
Uh,
Oh,
maybe not yet.
okay.
So Animal Well has a lot of puzzles in it. You
Yeah,
know, right?
like 1,000.
What if I told you that there's a puzzle in this podcast?
What?
There is a puzzle hidden in this podcast. If you can decipher it and comment it on something, I'll give you, I don't know, a virtual high five. I'll give you nothing, but you'll know you solved it.
I didn't. I did. This is the first I'm hearing of it too. What the heck?
Well,
I
now
wasn't part of it.
our
Oh,
viewers,
maybe I was. Maybe I want to throw them off, right? I
yeah, we
guess.
don't know. You don't know. I know. We know. You don't know.
You're Please solve this puzzle. That's what I'm gonna try to figure it out
Yep.
too.
Yep. Do you want to, you as a viewer, do you want to solve it? Do you want to cross the Rubicon and figure this out? Let's see.
Solve Bad Benny's puzzle, please. I'm begging you. Don't be like me finishing Animal World just in layer 2. Go to that layer 3.
Let's
Go to that
go.
layer 3. That's so good. That's so funny. That I'm so I want to like
I had to, dude.
read
Billy
this,
Basso,
listen to this over and like figure out
he
what the.
inspired me. Billy
Oh my
just
god!
inspired me right now.
Right now?
Right now.
No. Did you plan this?
I don't know. I don't know.
That's too much. So for our book report,
Hmm.
what grade are you giving Animal Well?
I am gonna give it a solid A. I think a solid A. I think as a package, it's incredible. When you look at it as a package, it's incredible. Like the knowing the history behind it, knowing the work that went into it, it's like top notch. I think what could have elevated it to that A plus, right? The perfect mark
Perfect mark.
is just having the base layers of like what's accessible to everybody be just like that much more, I don't know, engaging or involved, specifically layer one. Um, and I understand layer one is like really just there to get your feet wet, pretty
Yeah.
much. But like if somebody that's not connected to anything and doesn't know any better just buys this game randomly and plays it, they might finish layer one in 5 hours and be like, okay, is that it? Like,
Mm-hmm.
so that would be like the only like nitpick thing. But solid A, awesome game. Right? If you like these kind of games, or even if you don't like these kind of games, I recommend it for sure.
That's a really good point that you just did. I guess I didn't think about someone who would play this game and
Mm-hmm.
not know that
Yeah,
there's so much going
yeah,
on, and if they don't, then they're
mm-hmm.
kind of really missing out.
Yeah, for sure.
I was coming into this thinking I was gonna give it an A minus.
Okay,
Still in the A range. I mean, little top tier of
yeah.
a of letter grade. But after you blew my mind with everything that you told me, that I honestly was not expecting layer three to be layer three.
Uh
I
huh.
wasn't expecting layer four to even exist.
Right.
So I gotta give it an A as well. So I totally
Yeah,
agree with you.
love it.
And I guess to really finalize, is the game worth it?
Yeah. I
Yeah,
mean, I think it's worth it. I think I like 22
22
$24. I
bucks,
forget.
something like that. It's free on
Um.
PS Plus too.
Oh, nice.
I
I didn't
think
know that.
it's. I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure it's on
Yeah.
PS Plus. I got it for Steam,
Hmm.
playing on my Steam Deck and stuff.
Yeah.
It's so worth it. It's
Yeah.
so worth it. And like Ben was alluding to, just play it, figure things out by yourself, and then look stuff up. Like
Yeah.
start engaging with
Yeah.
the community. And you don't have to just like, oh, give me the pieces to do layer four. Just whatever you want to figure out. Check out the Reddits, check
Hmm.
out YouTube, and yeah, make the game fun for yourself.
Yeah.
Because wow,
Make it
it's
fun.
incredible. Whoa. Um, yeah, Ben, what else have you been playing besides Animal Well this past month?
Yeah. So when I haven't been pulling my hair out thinking about all the puzzles in Animal Well, I've been playing a lot of Elden Ring. Obviously, the new DLC came out this past week, so I've been playing a bunch of that. It is crazy. It's like calling it a DLC seems insane because
Mm.
it's like any other studio would just publish it as a game. Like there's just so much. Um, but yeah, there's so much there. I've seen a lot of people complain about the difficulty. I haven't like there's been a few moments where it's been super hard, but I feel like it's nothing like unexpected to me. Um,
Especially from a
but
FromSoft game.
yeah, especially yeah. So but yeah, it's sick. It's like super expansive, so much to do, so much new areas to explore, weapons and everything. So yeah, it's sick.
I saw a video where they did like throwing knife as a weapon
Hmm.
in the
Yeah,
DLC, and
yeah,
there's like obviously different tiers of how good those can
yep.
be, and that just looks so cool. I just love the
Hmm.
animation of the throwing.
Yeah, it's cool because normally the throwing knife is like
It's an
an
item,
expendable resource,
right?
but this makes it. It's like almost D&D with throwing knives, where you throw it, but or no, I'm thinking of something else. Um, but you throw it and it like returns to you, so it's not like
Mm,
an
yeah.
expendable resource. You just like it's like a normal weapon, but it has like its own move set and stuff, so it's super cool.
No, it's super awesome. I've been playing. I can't stop playing Balatro. I said it
Okay,
last time.
I just
I
like
just
the man is
it's just
hooked.
my it's just the game that I play like before bed. Again, while I watch TV or something with Katie, I just play a little bit of Balatro. I'm doing all
Mhm.
the challenges. I have so many decks. If you play Balatro, I have so many decks done. But there's what, like 20 decks, and each deck has like eight ish like levels
Okay,
basically. So it's just so much. There's so much game. It's like
yeah.
160 at least,
Hmm.
maybe more. Um, like runs that you have to beat, and I'm like on 100 and something. Like I'm maybe 2/3 of the way,
Yeah.
and there's still so much. I have like 90 hours on it now. Just
Jeez,
I
dang.
love Balatro. But to bring a different game, so I've been working a lot lately.
Hmm.
lots of work, kind of busy. So
On the
I
podcast or
oh yeah, of
what?
course I don't
No.
have a life besides the podcast, guys.
Yeah.
This is all I do. And sometimes I have downtime, and
Mhm.
I didn't want to like doom scroll on my phone, so I got a iPhone game. And
Oh,
don't really
nice.
play phone games, but
Yeah.
again, I'm playing so much Balatro, and I love like deck building roguelikes that I've been playing a game called Meteor Fall Journey. I think is
Interesting.
the game, and it's basically that it's kind of like a Slay the Spire type game where you have a character, they have a deck of cards with like their particular like move set and abilities,
Okay.
and then you fight monsters and you get to the end, and when you
Nice.
win, then there's a ascension, a difficulty modifier, I guess.
Oh, gotcha.
There's 6 characters. Yeah, sorry, ascension is so you.
Yeah, of course,
Yeah,
Ascension. Yeah, sure.
yeah, dude, everyone's
We all know
ascension.
what Ascension means, right,
Ascension.
guys?
It's just a difficulty modifier so that you keep playing basically, and then it
Gotcha,
caps
gotcha,
at like
gotcha.
5 or 6.
Okay,
There's 6 characters, but every character has like a not a dark side, but like a different side that has a different deck. So there's 12, and I saw the game was pretty well recommended, and I really like it. Gotta say it's very different than any other deck building game that I played. So it took me a second to kind of get into it, but once I
sure.
figured out, I've been really enjoying it. And then they released a second game. So there's Meteor Fall something, uh, Kermit's Revenge. I don't know. There's like a second
Kermit.
Kermit. No, Kermit is a frog, right?
Kermit is a
It's
frog.
a
Yeah.
Kremet, maybe. It's like
Okay.
KRE. I don't know.
We'll call him Kermit. Sure.
Yeah, it's Kermit
Yeah.
actually. Yeah.
Why not?
And I think it changes the whole mechanic. It's still like a roguelike deck building
Hmm.
game. But anyways, I've been enjoying it. So I didn't think that I was gonna be like a phone game guy, but yeah, it's been good.
Well, speaking of other games to play, so we've
Huh?
got this we played Animal Well this past month, right? And
Yeah.
now we've got a whole new month ahead of us to play a new game before our next episode.
Wow, we're playing a whole new game.
Yeah.
Bad Benny, I present to you the video game of the month for July 2024 for Videogame Book Club.
Okay.
And the game I chose is Hi-Fi Rush.
Oh, okay.
Hi-Fi
Yeah.
Rush was released last year,
Yeah.
and it won a lot of awards. It was one of the best games released last year, and I've
Yeah.
always wanted to play it.
Hmm.
And I thought we had a really intense and scary experience with Animal Well. I
Yeah.
had a really intense and not so scary experience with Another Crab's Treasure.
Frustrating sometimes.
Frustrating sometimes. So now I thought we would just have a lot of fun,
Hell yeah.
play like a video game that is just meant to be fun, just meant to be a video game, and
Yeah.
play Hi-Fi Rush.
Nice.
So, do you know a lot about Hi-Fi Rush?
I not a lot. I obviously saw like how well it was received last year and heard like so much good stuff about it. So I'm super excited to play it.
So
Yeah.
to give you a little bit of a teaser, and
Oh.
you guys, I played the first maybe 45 minutes.
Okay.
I thought it was good to, say a couple things about the game because I didn't really know about it. I just knew I wanted to play it. It just sounded really fun. But have you ever played Devil May Cry?
No, I know of it. I've like seen it played a little bit,
It
but
kind of
never
has like a
played it.
Devil May Cry skeleton to it with a just really fun and colorful and
Interesting.
really music and rhythm heavy aspect.
Okay.
Kind of combined in a pot, and that's Hi-Fi Rush. So the game actually has licensed music. They purchased the license of all this
Wow.
tracks for each kind of level that you play in the game. Kind of like in Devil May Cry, you play levels technically, but they're kind of open, and then you
Hmm.
finish a level, and then you go to the next one. This
Gotcha.
one, it'll be kind of the same. You get a score, you get like your score meter high up as you like hit enemies and do combos, but it's all about rhythm. So there's a track
Mm.
playing
Oh,
as
I
you're playing the
see.
game,
Yeah.
and it has a beat, and everything is moving to the beat.
Interesting.
Your character will hit enemies on beat each time. They won't miss a beat. But if you press the button on beat, then the combo goes really hard.
Gotcha.
And yeah, honestly, I really enjoyed my first 45 minutes. I was like, wow, this game it has a difficulty levels. I think has like easy, normal, hard, and really hard.
Okay.
And
We only play really hard on this
I
podcast.
honestly I picked hard. I was like, I like games that are a little
Yeah,
bit more
yeah.
difficult. Very hard sounded a little too harsh. I was reading kind of what the modifiers are, and I was
Okay.
like, I'll just play on hard.
Okay, I'll
And it
go
makes
hard
it
too.
okay. Yeah, there we go. But honestly, I thought so I played like Crypt of the Necromancer. Have you played that game?
Mm-mm.
It's like a little rhythm game too. It's kind of like a roguelike game, where you have to like keep in rhythm. If not, you get like hurt.
Gotcha.
Um, I didn't know that there was a rhythm aspect to Hi-Fi Rush, but it makes the combos feel so much better if you are in rhythm with the song.
Gotcha.
It was pretty, even in the 45 minutes that I played. I mean, the first like fight that I had, my score was like 35% in rhythm. You know, I was not, I was just mashing the buttons and trying to
Yeah.
do the combos instead of just like methodically pressing like square, 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 triangle or something,
Hmm.
you know. It's an Xbox game, so definitely I was hitting a no, I don't know,
Yeah.
Xbox XXXY. But yeah, honestly, it was really fun. So
Awesome. I'm
I'm
excited
excited
to
to
play
play
it.
it.
Yeah.
I hope there's like a completionist aspect of it. You have to like find every like upgrade to your stuff. I think there's different playable characters, so you start as one guy and then you kind of keep going.
Okay.
But yeah, it has really cool music. Like it starts with like the Black Keys playing,
Okay.
and
Yeah.
you know, it just I was like, whoa, I'm surprised. You don't
Yeah,
play
that
a
is
lot of games that
surprising.
have like
No.
actual music. You know, they
Yeah,
hire
like GTA or something on the radio.
exactly. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
this game is like the Black Keys song was like prevalent in the whole like first level or like
Cool.
first part of the game. So that was pretty cool. And then they switched songs depending on like bosses and stuff that you're fighting. But I'm excited to dive deep in it. I was looking at how long to beat.com and it said like yeah about like 11 12 hours for like the main
Perfect.
game, and then I
Yeah.
saw completionist 100 plus.
What?
So yeah, that's
We'll
gonna be
see.
something. We'll see.
We'll see how
We'll
far we
see.
get. We'll see.
And you'll know how far we'll go when you join us next time
Yes.
on Video Game Book Club, July 2024.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ben, for being with me doing second episode. Appreciate ya.
Of course. Thank you. And thank you to everybody watching along, all 10 of you right now. But yeah, we appreciate you
All
guys.
four of you, including our moms and us too. That's
Hi, Mom.
it. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time.
See you guys.
Bye.